close. Show me what you got. It's contact. Come get it. I'm the GOAT, you're not. Come and get it. You can be my Max Verstappen. Come and get it. Claims title number 3.
As Alex Jakes so correctly surmised at the end of the Spanish Grand Prix, from FP1 to checkered flag, every lap now counts. Every moment now counts. Yes, Max Verstappen has won the 2024 Spanish Grand Prix, but once again, he's done so in an inferior car. Lando Norris himself admitting it was the fastest car. Max Verstappen admitting the McLaren was the fastest car, but it's Red Bull and Max Verstappen that rule the roost here at the Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya. Hello folks, and welcome to your post-race show here in the paddock in Barcelona with me, Will Buxton, and with Alpine reserve and simulator driver Jack Doohan. Jack, McLaren had the quickest car. Again, just as they did in Canada, but again, a masterclass from Max Verstappen has seen him win by just 2.2 seconds.
Yeah, it ended up being quite close. You come to think that that start did really hinder Lando and McLaren. George, amazing launch around the outside, and when Max was able to get past George so early on lap 2, the gap that he was able to then create, forcing McLaren and Lando to go longer, which obviously isn't ideal, but to try and gain a little bit of a tyre advantage and tyre delta to come back, and meaning he's always on the comeback, he's always fighting back, having to try and pass cars. Passing cars, you do lose time, and it just wasn't enough at the end, but it was close. I was hoping maybe we would see a little bit of a replication of Imola towards the end of the race, but still, I think Red Bull, Max are just able to really get on top of things when they need to.
And really the start was where it was all decided. Lando admitted he didn't get the start that he needed, didn't get the start that he wanted, whether that was down to the car or himself as a driver. He says he's got to look into that. But just allowed Max to get alongside him. Lando gave him a cheeky little squeeze. It was investigated. No further action on that. But both of them then left unsighted with a rapid starting George Russell on board with him here. What a brilliant start from Russell.
No, definitely. It was, as we were speaking yesterday in the post-quali show, I was speaking that start that you can get from P4, P3, if done correctly and joining that with a little bit of the slipstream that you get down towards turn 1, George on the outside only sees clear road in front of him. He's online, not offline, clean braking and can go to where he wants to, where Lando's all of a sudden in a sandwich. Max is on the inside with limited room, so it's just so hard to actually brake deep and have the trust that you're not going to go into those other cars. So George kind of, the seas opened for him, and he did amazing.
As you say, Max put the move on George, took control of the race from there. Mercedes had a great day. Lewis Hamilton on the podium for the 198th time, very much in the mix. Ferrari, a little bit at sea. You guys having a great race, now up to 7th in the constructors standing, so a brilliant day for Alpine. But let's start at the back of the field and the results for today. Logan Sargent down in P20 and Alex Albon P18. It's been a disappointing weekend for Williams. I know they weren't expecting it to be great, but a really disappointing run for them.
Yeah, I think definitely wasn't great at all. That car looked like a bit of a handful. We saw Alex having a huge moment into turn 4, losing the car almost completely, luckily saving it, going off in the gravel, losing over 10 seconds of lap time. Luckily he didn't lose the pace, but yeah, that just displays the level of difficulty that they were playing with this weekend. I'm hoping for their sake, and I'm pretty sure they are, that they'll be able to bounce back straight away for Red Bull Ring. We know that car's quick. It always has been very difficult to overtake as well in Red Bull Ring, so I'm sure they're going to bounce back and forget about this weekend. They definitely know that they've done something wrong with this floor, and how they're going to go forward, that's going to be up to them.
Yeah, Logan Sargent with the updated floor on his car, which didn't provide the numbers that the team had expected or promised him. And Alex Albon with that snap on the radio to the team. What the hell happened there? They said, all fine from our side. And he's like, no, don't tell me that. Like, no, it absolutely was not. We can hear his thoughts right now.
So Alex, P18 at the end of that one. It's been a tough weekend for Williams, hasn't it? But what's your assessment of that race?
Yes, in some ways a bit of a reality check. I think we come to a more traditional circuit. Obviously we are overweight and we are carrying, I think, a little bit less downforce than other people. So, we take advantages of tracks that are a little bit more different. Yeah, it was a tough one. We knew it was going to be a tough one. We expect better things for us here in Silverstone.
We saw you going through the gravel towards the end of the race there, and you sounded a bit confused about it on the radio. Was it just completely taking you by surprise there, the balance?
Yeah, I mean, I was tyre saving through 4, so it was a bit odd. I wanted an answer because I know what the limit of the car is, and that wasn't the limit. But it was just a big gust. I think afterwards we realised it was a big gust of wind, but obviously in the moment didn't really know it. So every time I went through turn 4 after that off, I was a little bit extra cautious.
Thanks, Alex.
Thank you.
Yeah, so Alex needs answers from the team on that. Wasn't happy with their response at all. Also a difficult weekend for RB, a team that brought a massive upgrade package on their car, V-Cup, my apologies. Sonoda P19 with a penalty in his pocket as well for pit lane speeding. He was 0.1 kilometers an hour over the speed limit in the pit lane. Daniel Ricciardo with a P15. And it's interesting talking to the guys this weekend because they've said after qualifying, look, car felt great. I was shocked to be out in Q1 because the balance felt good, everything felt good. There's just no pace in it. But the feeling I get from them is that they feel like they're taking a step back to take a couple of steps forward. But it's just such a surprise because they were up there gunning to be top 10. And after that brilliant, quali result in Canada a couple of weeks ago, both in the top 10, to have a weekend where they struggled this much, it's got to hurt the guys.
No, it's got to hurt. And, here, like Alex said, it's a reality check. You get to somewhere that everyone knows how it performs. It's a traditional circuit. All right, where are we at with pace? And they've clearly tried to, like you said, bring an upgrade here. Maybe it is for the bigger run when they can add some things to that car, can maybe end up working. But yeah, super difficult. Didn't work. And like I said, their one as well with Williams not as bad, that they're going to have to regroup quickly because these triple headers come and they come very fast. So you usually want to hit the ball, get the ball rolling and get into a rhythm. But on the plus side, you have next week. You don't have to wait one weekend and think about all the thoughts and go over everything. You have the time to really switch back on and get going.
Daniel Ricciardo wrote on the back of his helmet this weekend, not without a fight, as in I am not going down without a fight. Feels like he was fighting with one hand tied behind his back today. P15 for the Australian.
So Daniel, how was that one out there for you today? P15 at the end of it.
It's kind of a weird one because, yeah, am I happy with 15th? Absolutely not. But am I happy with my race and how we managed it? Yes. I actually feel like we actually did a good race. Just simply, even yesterday qualifying, I know I missed out by just under a tenth to obviously Yuki and the teammate battle. But yeah, I felt like we both did a good job, and we just didn't have anything more to show this weekend. So yeah, yesterday, missed maybe just a touch, but today I felt like I maximized it. But obviously with the new package, we're missing something. So take a few little positives from the week, but obviously a few more things to work on and quick turnaround. So get into the debrief now. I took plenty of notes through the race and plenty of feedback to give to the team, so we'll try and put it to good use and come back in Austria.
You touched on that new package. Can you just take us into the cockpit? How different does it feel? Where's it lacking? What's kind of gone wrong this weekend on that front?
It's honestly a tough one. I mean, I know there's a few corners where I feel like it's not really giving us a little bit extra that we're looking for. So yeah, there is some places which are a little bit more clear. But if I go back to quali yesterday, the car felt balanced. I think we got it in a much better place compared to Friday. But probably now we're just lacking overall load. And this is a pretty high-speed circuit, a lot of fast corners, and I guess that maybe is where we're currently a little bit weak.
Thanks, Daniel.
Thank you.
A very honest appraisal of the situation from Daniel Ricciardo, really reflecting what he was saying after qualifying, that, in quali that car felt good. Maybe a couple of corners today, not so much, but there we go. Sauber. Bottas had a mega quali, P12. Joe, a good quali as well for him, considering he had that old chassis and was happier with it. But Valtteri plummeted down the order, P16 at the close of play. But Joe, P13. So I think one driver's going to be happy, one not so happy at the end of the
For sure, they kind of reversed. One went forward, one went backwards. Yeah. They're going to dissect that, see where potentially if they were split on a bit of strategy, on a bit of balance, they'll know exactly what kind of worked, what didn't, in case they went in different directions. But yeah, Valtteri, I know the team yesterday afternoon, they were quite actually happy with the result, to be so close to the Aston Martin and also to be taking step forwards from where they were. And then, yeah, a Sunday, not as they would want. Obviously, there's no points for 12th or 16th, but it's sort of all positives and confidence that you can take forward. So to have that little bit of setback, I'm sure it won't bother them. They'll be back roaring to go in Austria.
As you say, happier to be closer to Aston Martin, but Aston Martin were nowhere near where they wanted to be this weekend. They knew it was going to be a tough one. They know that actually the next three are going to be hard for them. But Fernando, bit of a mistake at the start from him, sent him wide, lost him a ton of positions. That was a P10 and potential points that went begging today. He did expect to drop back, but a bit of an anonymous race for both of them today.
Yeah, very. They got a little bit lost in strategy, it seems. They seemed like they were quite a bit out of sync than everyone else. And once you're then playing catch-up, everyone is so on it. Everyone is so calculated. You're out of the rhythm, you're out of the strategy, and you're in no man's land. And that just kind of seemed how they were. There wasn't too much focus, it seemed, so I wasn't completely embedded in exactly how that race planned out. But it did seem an awkward stop times, awkward strategy, and just a bit of a mediocre race from them.
I think mediocre is a very good way of describing it. How, though, would Fernando Alonso, home here, be helpful if I could actually pronounce his name? Fernando Alonso, who's going to come through here on a scooter in a minute. He would if people stopped taking a selfie with him. We can hear from him moments ago in the pen.
So Fernando, just outside the points at the end of that one, it looked like a real battle out there today. Of course, the off at turn one as well. Can we just get your summary of that race?
Yeah, well, we didn't have the pace. I think Barcelona, at the end, it puts you in the pace order. There is nothing to hide. You know, eventually over 66 laps, you ended up in the position you deserve. So today we are P12. And yeah, this is the maximum. Car was not great the whole weekend. We confirmed it in the race as well. A lot of sliding, especially in the high-speed corners, which obviously it kills the tires, so you get into a bad spiral. And yeah, at the end, a tough weekend.
Some more upgrades on the car this weekend. What do the next few days look like before Austria and working out where you stand with this package?
Well, I think it's going to be difficult. You know, we cannot lie to ourselves. Is where we are at the moment. We are not in a position to score points. So yeah, we have to make a step forward, a significant step forward, hopefully in the next few races. I think Austria being in 5 days' time, there is not much coming to Spielberg and to Silverstone. So yeah, hopefully in Hungary or later we will have a step that yeah, it help us in terms of performance. Now we are a little bit down.
Thanks.
Fernando Alonso scooting his way back to the hospitality unit, and Esteban Ocon has come on the show.
That's
points.
a good way of coming back into the pits.
Well, on the scooter.
The Hospi, yeah, on the scooter.
It gets you past everyone.
Yeah,
you've got your hands full.
I thought it was forbidden.
It does say on the gates, doesn't it? No scooters in the paddock.
No, it's allowed now.
You can do
I'm
what you
joking.
want as a driver.
Yeah. No.
I think as long as you push it yourself, no?
If you have a nice beard, maybe like Jack, you fit it through the doors quite nice.
Pretty good, you know, very nice.
But I'm not used to seeing you with the beard. So.
I just haven't had time to shave, mate.
All right.
So I'll be gone for next week.
We'll talk about that. He's been busy in the sim.
He's been busy.
He's been busy. Perfecting his Wolverine look as well.
Exactly.
That's nice.
You'll get there one day.
I like that, mate. It's nice. Esteban, double points for the team today. You go above Haas in the Constructors' Championship. What a brilliant weekend. And I know when we talked on Thursday, both you and Pierre said that you were expecting a tough weekend.
Yeah, we were expecting a tough weekend, and honestly, you know, the race that I had was a super long one, and we found some issues with the front of the floor in the car. The engineers told me at the end of the race that we were lacking some downforce to the front of the car. So honestly, it was super hard, the race. I kept falling back and almost not being able to hold Nico at the end, with a lot of sliding, a lot of degradation, but you know, very positive that we managed to come in the points with such a race, because earlier in the year, if we had any issues or any kind of even thinking of an issue, we were going to be 17th, 18th, and today, you know, we're inside the points, so that's pretty solid.
What does it say about the development that the team has taken, the work that's being put in, that, as you say, at the start of the season, you guys were, I'm not being rude, but you were nowhere, and this weekend, about half a second off pole?
Yeah, it's pretty unexpected, to say the least. We put the car down in FP1, and honestly, it was working better than normal. We optimized, you know, what we know. We tried new things. You know, we didn't bring anything new to the car, but for some reason, it's much better than in the beginning of the year. And if you know, I got a clue of what it is. I think the team knows as well what it could be. And if that's the case, we should be okay for the next three. So
this is it. This is it. We're at, you know, proper tracks going forward that we know. traditional tracks, shall we call them. Does this create a good barometer for you going forward?
Yeah, I mean, time will tell. But if we are competitive in Austria, I think we are going to be competitive in much more tracks than we were earlier in the year, and that is good news. But until then, we haven't done it. So let's see in Austria.
And a word for this guy here, the shift that he put in back at base.
He doesn't have time to shave. That's
If I brought one, maybe. I was thinking about doing it in the plane, but I didn't really want to clog their sink up in there on my way. But
no, but we can thank him, because honestly, I've been on that seat as well in the past in 2019, and yeah, you must be pretty tired, coming in here. Very little sleep, and yeah, that's the commitment we need at the moment to boost ourselves up.
Lovely stuff. Thanks for coming on the show, mate. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Travel safe. We'll see you in
See you in 2 days.
few days' time. Right. We've heard from Esteban. We've heard from Jack. Why don't we hear from their boss, Bruno Famin?
Bruno, best Friday of the season. Both drivers in Q3 and both drivers on the points. How will you sum up this weekend?
Yeah, it was a good weekend for us. The best so far, for sure. Yesterday was particularly good with a good quality. The two cars on the Q3 for the first time. The two cars in the points today. A bit disappointed with not catching the 8th place on the last lap, which is good. That is that we want more, and I think we will be able to get more soon.
Can you maintain this for Austria next weekend?
We hope that will be the goal. No, I think it's quite similar track than here, and we will do our best to do the same. Yeah, at least.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Jack Doohan is fast. How did you get down there and back so quickly?
quickly sprinted.
Wow.
Quickly sprint back.
Dude, you really are quick.
Exactly. Transported from the sim here back to the hospitality. Just need to be always front and center on the cam.
I like that, mate. I like that. It's a good advert for the seat for next year. How fast you are. Yeah.
Always fast. Mate.
Lovely stuff. That may have been recorded a little bit earlier while I was standing here panicking that I didn't have a co-host for the show.
I think he's bluffing a little bit there, but
yeah,
he's a little bit disappointed on my sprinting skills, but that's okay. That's okay.
Right, cool. Who should we talk about next? Let us talk about Haas, who Alpine overtook in the Constructors' Championship today. As Esteban said, having to hold off Hülkenberg at the end there. Nico with a great run. Kevin, again, though, getting in trouble with the stewards for a jump start.
Yes, and it wasn't the only Haas, as the other one had a 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. So 2 drivers, Yuki and himself. Yes, we got put under pressure there at the end, which is never nice. However, Nico did have that penalty, but you don't want to put yourself in that situation where you want to stay within that 5 seconds, as getting past is another story. So the Haas did seem to have some pace. It was quick at the end, not quick enough. So I think we can be happy with that. And to get 2 cars in the points, overtake them in the Constructors, it's these little things that make all the hard work pay off. Yeah,
Haas was saying how important every point was. You're absolutely exemplifying that. Hello, Oscar Piastri. Have we got a microphone for Oscar somewhere? Can we?
G'day.
Thank you so much, Africa. Oscar.
Thank you.
A tough day out there for you today. I know that much. Was it all really revolving around Saturday and the issues that you had there? Would it have been an easier day without that?
Yes, it would have. But to be honest, the whole weekend has just been a struggle from basically the first lap. So I need to understand why that's been the case. There's been the odd lap here or there that's looked a bit more encouraging, but yeah, pretty happy to see the back end of that weekend, to be honest. So need to understand why for Austria.
Was it just the feel in the car? Was it not responding to what you wanted?
Yeah, just a bit more, a lot more unpredictable than what I've been used to, I guess. Clearly the potential in the car is very strong. Just was not able to unlock it at all this weekend, and just need to understand why that was the case. I think the second half of the race looked a little bit more positive, but yeah, when you qualify that far back, it hurts a lot. The potential of what you can do on Sunday, and especially a track like here where dirty air makes such a big difference.
Why would you say, when you're looking at obviously the race, what was it in the second half of the race that you said looked a little bit more positive? Was that getting confidence? Was the car coming in where you were able to feel it a little bit better?
A little bit better. I think also just the strategy we were on probably made things look a bit better. Extended the first stint extended the second stint a bit and then went onto the soft for the last stint. So I think that makes things look a bit better too. But yeah, the odd lap here and there felt a little bit better, but on the whole, just a tough one.
The fact that you extended and Lando did as well, was that always the plan, or was that very much an option that was necessitated by circumstance?
I think for... Hello.
Hello, Pierre.
I think from our side, well, you know, on my side anyway, I think extending was probably going to be the best way of trying to leap up a lot. You know, you give yourself more opportunity of a safety car. You know, you create a bigger tyre difference to the cars around you. You just give yourself some more options. I was a bit surprised that everyone stopped so early in the first stint. So that was a little bit of a surprise, but yeah, that was kind of always the plan for us anyway.
Great stuff. Thanks for coming on the show. I hope you get it all figured out for Austria, mate. Thank you very much. He's already got one. Lovely stuff. Pierre, we've got the full quota now of top people at Alpine. We've had Bruno, we've had Esteban, we have Jack. We love Jack. Now we have you. What a great day for the team. What a great weekend for the team. And again, as I've been saying it all the way through, on a weekend where you guys expected to really have a hard time.
Yeah, I must say it's been a strong weekend, our best so far this season. Yesterday came a bit as a surprise, but very good pace. Managed to get both cars in Q3, and again today we managed to fight Oscar for some laps. And then it was tight with Checo. Unfortunately, passed us in the last lap, which is always annoying. But at the end of the day, I think we finished behind the four fastest cars, and it was normal conditions on pure pace, so definitely some positive to take.
And you've moved above Haas in the Constructors' Championship. What's that going to mean to everyone back at the base that's working so hard on developing this car?
I mean, if you look where we were a couple months ago, it's you know, every race, every week we seem to make steps forward, and no, that's what we need. That's what we need. You know, should not get too excited, obviously, by finishing ninth, but definitely some positives to take, and I think a lot of things to learn on our side, because the car seems to perform a lot better than we expected on this track. So there is a good trend, good momentum, and hopefully we can keep that going.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, I want to ask before we have to let you go. Some drivers were able to put the softs on at the end, but a number of you guys had to put on the hards, which earlier on in the weekend never looked like it was going to be a race tyre. How hard was that?
Yeah, I mean, it was...
You're trying to say the polite thing, aren't you?
No, I mean, to be fair, I think both were on the table. In the position we were, I saw the hard was a good choice, and I don't think it would have changed our race massively. I'm not even sure the soft was better, so probably need to look a bit more deeply, but I'm happy with what we've done. It was a good strategy, a good race, good weekend all in all, and hopefully we can repeat that next week.
Great start to the triple header. Well done. Enjoy tonight. We'll see you in Austria in a few days. Lovely to have the full quota of Alpinists. Are they Alpinists?
I really don't know.
Alpinas.
No. Alpinists, they're like the mountaineers, aren't they? Like Alpinists?
Oh, yeah, I guess they are.
Yeah. So you can just say Alpine drivers.
Alpine drivers.
And team principal.
Stop trying to be smart, Buxton.
Exactly.
Right. On
you can
now
be smart on a little things.
To Marietta, who has found someone interesting in the paddock.
Fred, probably not where the team wanted to finish today, not where Carlos wanted to finish today. What do you think prevented your drivers from having better race pace today?
It's probably in quali that we have to look after the main issue, because that we started today where we finished, and it's almost the case of the top 6 or 7. That it is like it is, that we have to do a better job on Saturday. Race pace of today was okay, probably the same as Mercedes, but starting behind, we finished behind. And let's see next week.
What about Austria? What do you think you can
I
achieve
think
there?
it will be as it is for now for a couple of months, that it's a very tight fight, that and then depending of the track layout, compound, temperature, you have small differences between the teams and cars, and the most important is to be able to win when you are able to win, and to score points when you are not. And so far today we did a decent job. I don't think that it's today that we missed something.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good to hear from Fred Vasseur. F1 strategist Ruth Buscombe has joined us. Hello, Ruth.
Hello.
Hello, mate. How did you enjoy that race?
Well, it was a two-stop, wasn't it, in the end? No, it was a good one. A phenomenal overtake after lap 2, and then it was a case of kind of slowly. So after that, it looked like the win was done. But yeah, there was quite a lot of interesting strategy choices that were playing out across all of the points positions, weren't there?
Yeah, there were. We're going to get into that in a little bit. We've just heard from Fred Vasseur. What did you make of Ferrari's race today?
Well, I mean, you have to agree that in terms of the race pace, exactly as he said, the numbers line up, which is not a surprise. Probably his strategist told him the same thing, which is that, that McLaren and the Red Bull, they were in one tier, the Mercedes and the Ferrari were in another. And we saw that when Lando had extended, he came out and he overtook. Even though he got undercut, you just re-overtake on track, and that's race-based. So I think the main reason why they weren't on the podium today was pace and qualifying position, and then they inverted the cars today by putting Sainz was on that hard tyre, which in the end was sliding a bit with Charles on that softer, faster tyre.
It was indeed. Let's hear though if Charles has had a good day in the office.
So Charles, P5 at the end of that one. Can we get your summary of how that one unfolded?
Yeah, well, not happy. Unfortunately, we came just one lap short of P4, which was a bit of a shame, but yeah, that's the best we could do today. I think the strategy, we did well to offset ourselves a bit with the people around. And yeah, shame we lost a bit of time between the cars at the beginning, but it's like this.
Can we get your explanation of that one? We saw, as you say, getting pretty close to Carlos.
Yeah, it's a shame because the team had told us before the race to save the tires at this moment of the race, so I was doing exactly that, and in the last corner, it's a really good corner to save. And we knew that we had to both save, but I think Carlos used that one lap pushing a lot in turn 14 and was very close to me and overtook, which was fine, but then he obviously, I think, did the corner like if I was not there. So it's a bit of a shame because yeah, anyway, I mean, we'll speak that internally. It's not a big deal. I understand it's his home race and a very important moment of his career, so I guess he wanted to do something spectacular, but I probably wasn't the right person to do that with.
And what about the strategy as a whole? We saw you going longer into that first stint with the McLarens. How do you reflect on that, and what will be discussed in the debrief?
No, I think strategy-wise we did well to offset ourselves with the others. I was managing the tyres well in the first stint. That's what it was for, to try and go longer after that, and I did that perfectly. So there wasn't much more we could have done on that.
Thanks, Charles.
Not for the first time this year. Charles Leclerc unhappy with Carlos Sainz. Jack, let's unpack this moment. Let's get a replay on so we can talk it through on the run down to turn 1. You've got to give each other space down here. On board with Charles.
I don't know. It's Carlos was around the outside. He did squeeze him, I'd say, a little bit onto the apex. There wasn't much room for Charles. You can see why both driver maybe is a little bit unhappy. I cannot really give a decision there, to be honest.
6 of one, half a dozen of the other.
You lost me there. That was too many
50-50.
numbers. I'm kidding. I'd say so, yeah. For me, I'd say that's just hard racing. Carlos was trying to sweep around the outside. Charles not wanting to give it up. And unfortunately, at one point, both of those meet.
Yeah.
It was a similar situation that we saw with George and Oscar, I'd say, in the chicane in Montreal, except this one at least has a little bit more breathing room and a little bit more room to, say, play fair. They both carried on. They both survived. So I think crack on.
Lovely stuff. Trying to not get yourself in trouble.
A little bit.
I like that very much. Ruth, you're already in trouble, so you just
go on.
Just crack on. The interesting strategy that both Mercedes and Ferrari brought in there by putting one car on the soft, one car on the hard. Is that essentially covering their bases, or was it a case of putting the hard on, realizing it was wrong, and then putting their next driver on the soft as a result?
Well, it's difficult to, ever comment on what people were thinking.
Yeah.
In terms of what actually happened, was that quite a few of the cars in the back of the field went very early onto the hard tyre. Now that might have been them trying something different. What we saw on Friday was that the hard was didn't really offer a pace advantage. It's slower, it's got less grip, it's very grip sensitive around here. And actually at these warm temperatures, similar to P2, it slides. So it doesn't even really give you a deg advantage, which is why in the F1 strategy team, we had it down as a soft, medium, soft. Now, of course, we could also be wrong. But you know, I think they probably looked at the lap times of the guys on the hard potentially. But then, you know, they did adjust and, you know, they did react. And the second cars to pits, they put them on the soft tyre, which, you know, was statistically, I have to be very careful here. It was the faster tyre. It was soft, medium, soft, guys.
Were there enough tyres left to do a soft, medium, medium, or did nobody really have the mediums left?
So that would have been slower as well, Will, because we've just gone over the point that you want to be on the softest tyres possible. So the soft is faster than the medium, is faster than the hard. And actually, nobody kept a medium for that exact reason. So the only guys out there that had two mediums were the Williams that were, as you say, trying to do something different. Yeah. So it made sense for them. They started from the pit lane, they started on that medium. They were doing something different. But yeah, the soft was faster than the medium, that's faster than the hard, which is why during this show, you will see plenty of used soft tyres go past and quite a lot of shiny, white, unused hards.
Lovely stuff. Let's go to the studio, because while Charles Leclerc wasn't happy with Carlos Sainz's moves, Carlos Sainz wasn't happy with another move. While I go and get something for this burn.
I feel the necessity to rescue Buxton at this stage. Let's have a look at this then. The stewards. Wave play on this one. Fighting tyre equivalent, Lewis Hamilton and Carlos Sainz. I think they were correct. And here's why. There's a directive about how these moves are adjudicated. And effectively, the driver making the overtake has to do several things. They have to get their front tyre alongside the cockpit of the car that they're trying to pass, and they have to be under control at the apex. Where there are multi-stage chicanes, where you have a right, then, for example, a left of turn 2, the first stage of any complex is biased by the stewards. So if you make it to where Lewis Hamilton makes it to here, effectively it's then your corner. What you then don't have to do or can't do is run the driver on the outside at a road. The little bit of contact that we see in the mid-corner here from Lewis Hamilton, if I can manage to roll it back, is because the cars are a little bit wider at the rear than at the front. You can see there's that left rear contact which creates the oversteer. He ends up running Sainz wider than I think he intended. You can tell, though, that Lewis Hamilton thinks it's right on the limit, because he opens the hands up and goes, look at this lovely big bit of track that I've left you there, Carlos, to play with. That's a driver who's put a move on. It is a fair move, but knows that move was right on the limit. Great racing between those two. Sainz, not happy with that over the radio, said, what's the point in having a rule book if we're not going to follow it? But I think they did on this occasion. It was just a bit robust from Lewis.
Robust is a very good way of describing it. Right, why don't we hear from Lewis Hamilton back on the podium, his 198th in Formula One. George Russell with the start of the season. How are they both looking back over their Spanish Grand Prix?
So George, P4 at the end of that one, but I wondered, can we take it back to the very start and you storming around the outside into turn 1? How did that all unfold in the cockpit for you?
Yeah, it was channeling my inner Alonso from 2012. That was such a iconic start, but I knew the weather was saying it was going to be a big headwind into that corner, and I knew I could brake really, really deep and caught the guys off guard. So I was sort of dreaming of that last night. I didn't quite think it would come to fruition as it did, so that was fun.
Some close battles out there, including with your teammate Lewis. But is this just further proof that Mercedes are really back in the fight now?
Yeah, definitely. It's been a couple of races in a row now. We're fighting for the front rows of the grid, fighting for podiums. Really exciting to see the progress we've made, and I feel like we can really build from this now.
Thank you, George. Lewis, congratulations. Back on the podium. You must be feeling pretty happy about that one.
Yeah, I feel great. I feel fantastic. Still plenty of energy, and after a bad start, to recover and get back into P3 is really, really, really great job. Really happy with particularly my second and last stint were very, very strong. And I think the first one I was just recovering from such a bad start, so that was a little bit more tricky. But yeah, we're getting there, we're getting closer, and big, big thank you to the team because we're slowly closing the gap.
Lots of battling out there, moves on Carlos, your teammate George. Can you talk us through those ones?
Yeah, with George, well, firstly with Carlos, I mean, they shortened the DRS, so not so easy to follow through the last corner, and I really had to pull this move off as early as possible. And so he moved over but didn't completely cover the inside, so I went for the inside. And yeah, it was very, very close, very close between us. He tried to hold and stay on the outside, but I left him a little bit of room, but it was nice and tight.
We spoke earlier in the weekend about the momentum seeming to really be building at Mercedes. How much have you enjoyed these past few weekends, and particularly today, getting back on the podium?
This is the best weekend I've had all year, and for a long, long time, for like 15 races or something crazy. So it's good to be back. It's good to have battles like today. It's good to reassert and reaffirm.
Thanks, Luke.
What a difference a podium makes. Lewis Hamilton on Thursday cut a disconsolate figure. He was shoulders slumped, really miserable, definitely didn't want to be being asked any questions. And today, as he says, happiest he's been all season. Happy I've seen him in a long, long time. Ruth, when you talked about the different tiers of teams today and that Ferrari and Mercedes found themselves in a tier 2, for the start of the Grand Prix, that Tier 2 car of George Russell was keeping the McLaren of Lando Norris behind. He had to come in and pit for Lando to really be released. Are they really a Tier 2, or are they kind of like a Tier 1.5 in that third place, really?
Yeah, so you can keep a slower car behind around here. The overtaking difficulty, even with that adjusted chicane that's made it easier, is still about 7 or 8 tenths. And they're not 7 or 8 tenths slower. They're a couple of tenths slower, which means that, yes, across a race distance, if you're out in free air, that's going to add up and add up and add up. But you do have the opportunity to, if you can park your car in front of them, they won't get past you. So it was really, you had to be released, and it was not enough of a pace difference. You see, you needed really kind of like a tyre delta, with Lando building up quite a big tyre delta, plus the extra couple of tenths from the McLaren to hit about that 7 tenths, throughout your magic number, and then you go sliding on through.
Love that. Mercedes have clearly found something. They put the new front wing on. That made a big difference. They had a new floor on the car this weekend, a lighter floor. James Allison saying earlier in the week they had an oh God moment. Like, oh God, this is what we should have been doing all along. It feels like they've finally figured it out.
Yeah, definitely. I think as well they seem to still maybe be performing a little bit better in the colder conditions. Today was super hot. It was max. I don't think we were expecting to be that hot. Going forward to the Red Bull Ring, to also, we're kind of going from a circuit which is very stop-start, low downforce of Canada, coming to here, a very traditional and then high-speed, long, straight Red Bull Ring. So it's going to be interesting to see where they stack up there and how things are transforming for them.
Lewis Hamilton is living his best life at the moment. Apparently he got to the press conference room about 5-10 minutes ago, but the other drivers aren't there yet, so he's just lying on the there you go, he's just lying on the press conference sofa. There's Max Verstappen just arriving. No sign of Lando Norris yet, though. That might be because he's still talking to Mike.
So Lando, P2 at the end of that one, how are you feeling about it?
I'm in so-so. I mean, I'm happy with second. It's a good load of points and another trophy, another podium. But we were the quickest out there today as a car and driver combination, so we should have won. The team deserved the win. I just lost out a little bit in the 2 meters. I lost out in the beginning of the race. This was enough for Max to get to the inside, and if there wasn't George on the outside, I think I could have kept it on the outside and covered him. But George is on the outside, and if I tried to outbrake George, we would have both crashed, So George just got a good start and had a perfect slipstream all the way down. Nothing I can do about that. That's just that's Barcelona, 600 meters down to turn 1. When you're leading and you have no slipstream, you lose a lot of speed compared to them. So in some ways, I think not a lot I could have done. In some ways, if I was maybe 1 or 2 meters ahead, potentially I could have got away with it, So difficult one to know in hindsight, and I'll review things and see what I did wrong or what we didn't do well enough in the start. But after that, things were great. It was tricky to follow and tricky to get past at times, but the pace, the tire management was just what we needed to get back in second and to try and try and catch Max.
We heard you on the radio with your engineer discussing the strategy. Can you talk us through that, obviously going longer into the race in that first stint?
Yeah, I mean, our pace was clearly a lot stronger than the guys who were around. We're the quickest on track, so we could afford to play around a little bit more and try certain things. Always the end of life management for us was much stronger than them, so 4 or 5 laps before the pit stops is where our pace was hugely stronger than them. So yeah, again, a shame the race wasn't another 5-10 laps, but it's the way it is, and maybe I need to push a little bit more than what I have been doing. But at the same time, it's very easy if you push too much in the beginning to be too slow at the end and kind of not have the ability to play with your strategy and do things like we did today. So I think we had a good day in terms of strategy, and after turn 2, I don't think there was much more we could have done to get back to Max. But yeah, I'm happy with 99% of things. It's just that the 1%, which is a big part of it all, wasn't good enough today.
Thanks, Lando.
Lando thinks they had a good day for strategy. Ruth Buscombe, do you agree?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, I agree that, the second that turn 2, when he got boxed in, like phenomenal start by George, his chances of winning were gone. Because as we mentioned about the overtaking difficulty, we said before the show, whoever is going to be in front at the end of lap 1, out of those 2, will be likely be the race winner. And whether while they've got the pace to overtake Mercedes, potentially even Ferrari today, they didn't have the pace to overtake each other because they were really close on pace. And then what you will do as a team post race is a reconstruction. So the engineers will sit down and they will replay that race basically, and theoretically move that stop lap back and say, if we had stopped, theoretically, 3 or 4 laps earlier, so when they were kind of extending, they were losing about 9/10 a lap, but they were building a tyre advantage. So they had the opportunity to come out to cover Hamilton. They chose not to do that. They chose to be undercut by Sainz and Hamilton, come out behind them, then spend some time overtaking those cars. They overtook them, but they did take time to overtake them because, as you say, it's not, it's a bit of a, so we call it an S-curve. It takes a little bit of time to overtake a car. And then what they'll do is they'll kind of rebuild the whole race trace and say, if we'd gone 3 or 4 laps earlier, covered that undercut, not had that tyre advantage, but moved the stops around in line with the cars around us, would we have been further ahead on track at the end of the race? Now, the answer, I'll tell you, is they'd have still been P2. Because they might have been a few seconds further up the race trace, but they won't have made a difference. I think what they were going for today was, they said it on the radio, they really should change their code word, guys, because we all know what it is, and so do Red Bull.
A few seconds was P1, no?
Yeah,
Germany, isn't it?
It's the Germany scenario, which is where they were extending. Basically to cover. And the reason it was only a few seconds was the Red Bull guys were mirroring. So they basically took as much margin as they could. And then the second that Lando started to push and they saw a threat, they then kind of bled the buffer down to 3 seconds. I think that was quite a controlled stint, given that Lando was
I think we have a close battle. Okay,
so you're saying he should have stopped a few laps earlier.
But here's the thing. What we're looking at now is 2 races in a row where, and I'm trying to sort of wrap my head around this, 2 races in a row where McLaren have had the best car, and Max admits they've got the best, they've got the fastest car. 2 races in a row, they've been beaten. Is that solely down to circumstance? Is it down to strategy? Perhaps being reactive rather than proactive? What does it come down to? Because when we listen into the radio, we hear a strategy team at McLaren asking the driver the question, and then Lando himself changing his mind once he's already given up the opportunity to pit immediately for that second stop. Could have come in straight away, decided not to do that. Should they take that away from the driver? Do they need to be making those decisions more themselves, or more quickly, more proactively? Where does that change come, or does that change even need to be made?
I mean, yeah, it's not my style. I'm a teller, not an asker. And it's not Red Bull style. Like, maybe there's situations where that kind of, approach does come to fruition, and that's why it's called a championship, because we see what the average is across a whole season. For me, the race was lost basically turn 1, well, turn 2 exit, we got boxed in, and then they tried to go for the race win. You know, they were trying to extend to try to get that safety car or that VSC, and they were willing to lose, you know, P3 and try to recover it to do that. And as a strategist, you know, you can never fault someone that goes for a race win. I think Toto Wolff said it phenomenally a few years ago, when they lost P2 trying to chase P1 back in Hungary. And he said, you know, we're here to win the race. You know, I'm never going to come on here and apologize for losing P2 to get P3. And it's clear that that was like a statement of intent by McLaren. Now, could, in hindsight, you go back and say, actually, we could have operated better, we could tighten this up, you know, we shouldn't be asking these questions, and we should go through our procedures to kind of improve things like that? Yes. But, you know, I think you kind of got to break it down clinically. Sorry, it's a real engineer answer.
I love it.
But yeah, that's basically what it is. They went for the win, and I don't think you can ever really fault a strategist for going for the win. Could they have tweaked and executed it? Yes, but honestly, pretty much every single race, just like every single broadcast, as you were telling me, you know, you can always go back and tweak it and change it, and they'll be doing that. They'll be spending hours doing it, and you always beat yourself up. You're like, I could have found 9/10 here or 6/10 here. You know, this race here in 2022, Valtteri and I made a deal before the beginning of the season that if there was ever a chance that he would get a podium in an Alpha, we would take it. And he was happy to lose positions if he ever thought that there was a chance that we could deliver a podium. And we tried and we failed, but we didn't ever, you know, worry about it.
Stop trying. You didn't ever stop trying. I love that. Right. Producer Joe is telling me we're running short on time. We're not, Joe. Time is limitless. It's exponential. But perhaps on the show. Here's Max Verstappen.
So Max, congratulations, another win, but it was another close battle out there today, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was not an easy race, of course. I think what really made our race was the first 2 laps where I took the lead, and I could build up a little bit of a gap against Lando, because as soon as Lando was in free air, he was really, really quick, and basically every stint, of course, especially at the end, he was catching me a lot. They were just better on tires, they could push harder. But I think as a team, we did the right strategy. We were quite aggressive with the slots, and luckily it was just enough to the end.
Just how much were you having to push in those closing stages? You know, take us into the cockpit.
Yeah, I was pushing to the limit because the tires are overheating. It's not that easy. So I was just trying to manage everything as well as I could.
Do you expect this to continue next time out in Austria? A different track layout, but it really does look as though you've got several teams in the mix.
I would like to win, but we need to find more pace because we can't always rely on, you know, the perfect strategy, get everything right at the start. These are things that work here and there, but ultimately you need to be the fastest car on track, you know, to keep on winning.
As he says, you need to have the fastest car to keep on winning. He admits he doesn't have the fastest car at the moment. Perfectly executed race, and it had to be, Jack.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I think the perfect execution would have been leading the turn 1, not having George in his way and sailing off a little bit further, and not having to have that buffer of getting
so
past.
99%.
99.999
recurring.
%.
Yeah.
Perfect. And still, you know, in their books, they probably want to be sailing off into the distance. They don't want to be under pressure, having to actually manage a gap. They want to be off, not worrying about it, doing their own thing and enjoying wins like they have in the past. So I know that that's what they're going to be building on, focusing. They don't want to win. Obviously, everyone wants to win, but they want to dominate. And obviously, McLaren are pushing them further and further. Hopefully, it'll bring some more spice and we can enjoy the next couple of races.
Love that. Jack, thank you so much for your insight. Ruth, what an amazing weekend. It's been an absolute honor to share the screen with you. I've loved every second of it. Thank you, folks, for tuning in. Don't go too far. A couple of days' time, we get to do this all again in Austria. And here is where and when you can find everything on F1 TV. Of course, Thursday, the 27th of June, your weekend warm-up. On Friday, practice 1 at 12:15, and it is a sprint weekend. So sprint quali at 4:15. Then Saturday, your F1 sprint starts the day off at 11:20. Qualifying for the Grand Prix itself takes place at 3:30 before the race. The Formula One Qatar Airways Austrian Grand Prix. Your pre-race show starts at 2 p.m. on Sunday, the 30th of June. And that is your lot from the Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya. My thanks to everybody that's been on the shows this weekend, to Alex Jakes, to Alex Brundle, to Sam Collins, to David Coulthard, to Ruth Buscombe, to Jack Doohan, to Marietta Evans, and to all of you. Enjoy the next few days. We'll see you in Austria. But for now, from all of us here, it's a very warm goodbye.
Welcome to the Austrian Grand Prix. the Red Bull win.
Yeah, that was an amazing race, guys.